welcome everybody to the 2015-16 BYU Basketball Media Day. We're going to have Coach Rose give an opening statement, then he'll open for questions for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll have the players come in at 2:20, half the team, and then 2:50, the other half will come in, and we'll have them spread out around the room for interviews. So just let me know if you need help finding anybody, and we'll open it with Coach Rose.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. We're excited about the start of our season. I think that everybody who kind of follows college basketball realizes it's a big week all around the country that teams get started practice. It's interesting how a year or two ago they changed. October 15th has always kind of been a magical date for the start of practice, and a couple years ago they changed the formula that you can start 42 days before your first scheduled game, and in that 42 days you can practice 30 times. And so that leaves for most teams Friday the opening date. For us, we're going to start on Monday because of conference weekend, and so we've got another week of some individual workouts, and then we'll get started on Monday. I'm just really excited about this team. I think some years you're a little more apprehensive. This year, with the chance of us being able to travel and kind of coach our team a little bit in August, that I think we have a good feel for the group and what we need to do and how we can do it. I'm really excited about just the depth of this team, and hopefully that's how it plays out. I love competition. I think competition is the key to success, and if our team can compete against each other, I think that we'll find a real solid group that can compete for championships. I think that it kind of reminds me a little bit of 4 or 5 years ago when we were trying to replace Jimmer as far as scoring is concerned. I mean, Tyler was such a consistent scorer for us. I think that the way we'll do this is kind of similar to that year, where we'll have a lot of guys that'll share that role. I think coming back from Spain in the 4 games that we played, we have 4 players that averaged double figures, and I think this team is capable of having maybe 5 or 6 that could score in double figures, depending on how the rotations work. So look forward to Monday. I think that's the start, and then we just kind of go day to day from there. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Dave, could you give us a little more detail on what happened in Spain and what things that you liked that you saw specifically?
Okay, how much detail do you want? Madrid's amazing city. We were there for a day, and then we went and had practice that night when we arrived. And Travis Hansen was actually on the trip with us, and Travis had connections and to get us a gym, which is really usually on those foreign trips. It's really hard to do anything except get to your hotel and then try to find where you're playing. But with Steve Trumbo, who was a former player on the trip with us, we actually really kind of knew our way around, and we had connections with people. So we got to practice that first night, and then the first game in Madrid was quite interesting. Guys getting used to the kind of the European feel. The floors are a little bit different. We played 2 games before we got to a wood floor, so that was a little bit of a change for the guys. But I think that the real feel of those games was they were close early, and the European game is really kind of more of a half-court kind of game, and we really try to push the tempo, and we turned the ball over a lot in traveling, trying to push the tempo, and had a hard time figuring out to get the ball down before we put our took our next step. And but what I was kind of pleased with is that our tempo kind of I think we're behind twice at halftime, and I think that we're actually won each game kind of going away. So I think that our style did have kind of a positive effect on us and a negative effect on them. So that's a good thing. I like the guys are just trying to figure out themselves and each other and how they fit. I think we had great leadership from Kyle and from Chase. And so Madrid was good. It was pretty challenging. And then the next day we traveled. We took the day and we drove about 3 hours and stopped and had a pregame meal and then drove another hour and then played a game. And I haven't done that since junior college. That's been a while. And we played a 5 o'clock game, and it was about 95 degrees outside and hotter than that inside. That's for sure. But and they gave us a good game, and then we got them late. Able to kind of put the game away. So then we had a couple days off. Then we played back-to-back games in Barcelona.
Coach, could you address the health of your team, particularly Nate and Jamal and Nick, how they're doing?
That was really interesting for us in the 10 days that we practiced. Nate was able to go through every practice, which was good, and he feels good. And we didn't know how we would play him in the games. When we got the schedule and realized that we were going to play 2 back-to-back games, it kind of changed the amount of guys that we were going to take on the trip, just simply because I didn't know what would happen with Jamal and Nate in the back-to-back games. So, but Nate was able to play all 5 games and played great minutes and rebounded the ball really well, scored the ball really well in one game, which reminded me kind of when he was in his freshman, sophomore year. So, and Jamal played the first game and the last game. He was really effective in the first game. The last game, not quite so much. Never really got in a rhythm, got into some foul trouble. But it was good to see Jamal in the practices, and really look forward to getting him some consistent time on the floor with this group to see how he can really fit in.
Which spots do you feel most locked in with right now, and where do you expect the most competition here in September, October?
Well, I think when you take guys who have started for you, that their experience. So the experienced guys, you're talking about Kyle and Chase and Nate, and then Corbin Kyser. Corbin started, I think, the last 15 or 16 games for us last year, and Corbin had a great 4 games over there for us, led us in rebounding. And his issue, he's a really aggressive player, and he'll have to play major minutes, figure out how to stay out of foul trouble because he is so aggressive. But that's a good way to start. And so I think that those 4 experienced players, but after that, it's a lot of really talented guys that are inexperienced, and so that's where the competition will be.
Coach, you referenced the 2011-2012 team as a team that's kind of, I guess, similar to what this squad's going to be experiencing. Who do you expect to step up in that scoring absence this year?
Well, I expect them all to step up. We'll see. That's the beauty of Monday, is that you get a chance to get on that path to start. I think that if you take from the practices that we've had and the time in Spain, you'd obviously look to the guys who kind of produced there. Nick Emery was a really good scorer for us. Kyle Davis scored the ball really well for us. Chase was our leading scorer. And then I think that it was Kyle and Chase and 2 Kyles and Nick that averaged in double figures. And then Jordan Chapman, had nice scoring days there. So it'll be really interesting to me to see who kind of rises up. I thought that some of the younger guys, Zach Celius, coming right out of high school, it was interesting to watch that adjustment, and hopefully with that experience, it'll help him in the next 3 or 4 or 5 weeks before we get started, because he has a baseline now to kind of compare things to, and can go from there. And then Corey Calvert he twisted his ankle in the first game over there, and he's really had a hard time recovering from it, and he hasn't really been able to go in a full workout since then. And so hopefully he's close to getting back with us and can start with us on Monday.
Coach, have you ever had a roster like this one where you have 9 players, new faces that didn't play last season? How unique of a challenge is that for you?
Well, I think that one thing that we've been able to do in the 10 seasons is to be able to return a core group that can help the younger, inexperienced guys understand not only our system, but how we practice, what we do, kind of our culture, and then the expectations that we have from ourselves. And I think with Nate and Corb and Chase and Kyle that there's pretty good communication to this group about what our expectations are and what our culture is, and so I feel really comfortable with that.
Having a player like Cooper with his background and upbringing, what kind of production are you guys expecting out of Cooper this season?
Well, I think that Coop's and we've talked about this a lot with this certain group of guys, that there's a lot of uncertainty as far as the rotation's concerned. And, Cooper is a guy who I think his natural position is to play the point guard position, but he's a pretty good scorer, but he's a really tough player, and he understands team plays, and he understands consistency. He's battled through quite a few kind of injuries from a return missionary's point of view, but he's there every day, and he's involved, and so he's a tough kid, and we look forward to seeing what he can do for us.
Dave, we've talked a lot about scoring, but one of the knocks has been at times the defensive performance of your guys. Where do you view them being at defensively heading into this season?
I was really pleased with our improvement defensively. I think that personnel adjustments will help us defensively. I mean, last couple of years, we just had a hard time with the depth of our front line, and so we're playing smaller guys, and it's hard to guard us, but it's hard to guard other guys, and so you virtually replace Nate, 6'11", his defensive presence and his rebounding presence, and we replaced him with 5'10" Skylar Halford and 6'2" Anderson Winder, and it helped us offensively, but it did cause some issues defensively and rebound, and that's why Kyle was such a huge part of our team last year, rebounding the ball. We had to have him have big games rebounding the ball, so. I believe with the size, the strength, and the depth of our front line, if we can get to that, I thought last year we would get to that. I thought we have Jamal and Nate on the team last year, and neither one of them played. So we're hoping we get them both this year, along with Kyle Davis and Corb and Jacob Hardsock and Braden Shaw. And if that group is good, as good as I think it'll be, our depth on that front line will be way better, and it'll show on the defensive end.
Dave, you brought in a new assistant coach in Quincy Lewis. How has he fit in, and how has that made adjustments in your coaching staff as far as responsibilities?
I'm really pleased with Quincy. I think that he is he's a very good coach, really smart guy. But what I love most about Quincy is he loves competition. He played for me when I was my very first year as a head coach in college at Dixie, and was our starting point guard, and he's a competitor, and that's kind of what he preaches as a coach and what he preaches to the players. And I think that's kind of the whole theme of this year's group is hopefully that it'll be really competitive practices, competitive, for spots, for playing time, and obviously competitive when it's game time. So I think for this year it'll be kind of a learning curve for Quincy, and we'll use him in so many different ways. But the one thing about Quincy, when we talked in the process, that he said, I've done everything as far as a college coach, a high school coach, a head coach, made all the adjustments in games, has done everything, and it says whatever you need me to do, that's what we'll do. And so I think that the practices in August and the trip to Spain really helped us kind of determine that, and just look forward to kind of getting them in the mix and get going. Yeah, yeah, we'll stay that way, but with a lot of input. I think you'll probably see a lot more of crossing the lines. It won't be it won't be an offensive guy, a defensive guy. I know that Coach Lacombe will be a lot more involved. With our defensive game planning and preparation, and but Quincy and Coach Lacombe, they'll handle our defensive game prep, and Terry will help with the offense.
Past few years, Coach, you've signed some nationally heralded recruiting classes, and now you're starting to see those players trickle into the program. Do you feel that this is the beginning of a special era or phase of this program?
I've been taught some patience here, I think. I'm waiting for these guys to come and excited to get them here. I'm really excited to get, Nick Emery was one of the, the first top 100 guys we signed after Kyle and Tyler. So we look forward to Nick this year, and then TJ, and then Peyton Dastrup and Eric Mika coming back. So that's still down the road. I'm excited about that, but I'm really looking forward to see what this group can do, and then when Chase and Kyle and Nate leave, what will be here when they come back, and that's kind of been, it was really important to me that when I got this job 10 years ago that we didn't just have good teams, but we had a great program, and we could be consistent year after year and not just kind of plan for a big year, that we could be consistent. We're still looking for that real big year, and hopefully that we've got it here in the future, near future.
Dave, what led to your decision to bring Alan Hampson into the program, and what are your expectations for his role?
Alan, he once he was accepted to school into school, his parents came and asked me if there'd be an opportunity for him to, just to work out with the guys and see, and his mission timetable was so difficult. He didn't get back till like August 28th or so. And so he still hasn't been cleared to actually work out. We're still in the initial processes of getting him through, kind of his mission conditioning process. And he's 7'3", and he's got a 7'6" wingspan. And I remember in high school as a pretty good player that had a pretty good feel. And he's had some corrective surgery and got himself in a much better, his body in a much better position to be able to compete. And we'll see how that works over the course of a week practice, and then 2-week practice, and then see how we go from there.
Coach,
So those guys are hard to find. That's what led to the decision.
Coach Corbin Kyser seemed like he started out the year a little bit raw, but he's progressed exponentially throughout last season. What have you seen from him in the offseason going into the season that gives you hope that he can continue that climb?
Well, I think the most impressive thing with Corbin is how hard he works. He's an everyday guy, and he really wants to improve his game to help our team, and that's a great quality to have. A lot of guys have all kinds of agendas of why they want to get better. Corb's agenda is pretty simple. He loves to win. He's a competitor, and he's an everyday guy. I love the time that he spends with our coaches, and then the time he comes in and watches film, and I think that we're trying to get Corb from being kind of a highlight guy. He's capable of, because he's so athletic and he's got such great size, that he can affect the game on both ends of the floor. But the consistent play from end to end, day after day, night after night is, where hopefully we'll see the real improvement in Corb. Yeah.
Year 5 in the West Coast Conference, do you feel like you have a better feel now of this league and the venues and personnel?
Well, what I do know is that it's a really competitive league, and that we won 4 out of 5 championships in the Mountain West Conference, and we're 0 for 4 in this league. And so the challenge is obviously really good, and we're looking forward to trying to break through here and win a regular season title and win a conference tournament title, and then make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully that happens soon.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we've got a bunch of the players. We'll just have them spread out around the room, and you can just kind of go grab them as you want.